I found out my husband was cheating with my sister when I came home early from my mother's funeral. That sentence alone sounds like something out of a bad soap opera. But it was my life, my living nightmare. My mother, bless her soul, had just been laid to rest. My heart was already a raw, open wound, barely holding itself together. I'd driven 2 hours back home, wanting nothing more than the quiet comfort of my own bed, my own space to grieve, to just be. But what I found wasn't comfort. It was a scene burned into my memory, forever scarring my soul. They were in my bed. My husband, Mark, the man I'd shared my life with for 20 years, the father of my children, and my own sister, Lisa, my only sibling, my supposed confidant, my best friend. The sight stole my breath, shattered my world into a million irreparable pieces. It was a betrayal so profound, so utterly disgusting I didn't know if I'd ever recover. The humiliation was immediate, suffocating. I trusted them completely. And they used my deepest moment of grief, my most vulnerable state, to stab me in the back with a double-edged knife. But they were about to learn that even a broken woman can fight back. The divorce that followed? Let's just say Mark is still paying for that moment of unspeakable treachery. He thought he could get away with it, that I was too weak, too broken to fight. He was wrong. Very, very wrong. This is how I got everything. My name is Sarah. I'm 48 years old, and this is the story of how I went from victim to victor. Before that devastating night, my life with Mark was, by all appearances, a postcard of domestic bliss. We'd built our world together over 2 decades, brick by loving brick. He was the sturdy oak, I was the flourishing vine, and our 2 children, Emily and Josh, were the bright blossoms of our shared life. Our home, a charming colonial with a sprawling garden Mark had meticulously cultivated, wasn't just a house. It was a sanctuary filled with laughter, shared dreams, and the quiet comfort of routine. Every Saturday morning, Mark would make his special pancakes, syrup dripping from the stack, while I'd brew coffee strong enough to wake the dead. We'd sit at our kitchen table, the sun streaming through the window, planning our weekend hikes or debating movie choices. These weren't grand gestures. They were the small, precious rituals that cemented our bond, making us feel utterly safe, utterly loved. Our anniversaries were particularly special. Mark would always surprise me with a weekend getaway, a cabin in the mountains, a quaint B&B by the coast. He'd write me a heartfelt card, always mentioning how lucky he was, how I was his best friend. We'd hold hands like teenagers, strolling through new towns, talking about everything and nothing. I remember one year he whisked me away to a vineyard, and we spent the afternoon tasting wines, laughing until our sides ached, looking into each other's eyes with a depth of connection I thought was unbreakable. He was my confidant, my partner in every sense of the word, the man who knew my heart better than anyone. I trusted him completely. And then there was Lisa, my sister, my only sibling, just 2 years younger. She'd been my shadow and my rock since childhood. We shared secrets under blankets with flashlights, navigated awkward teenage years, and supported each other through heartbreaks. After our father passed, leaving a gaping hole in our family, Lisa and I leaned on each other even more. She'd moved into a small apartment nearby after her own divorce, and slowly she started spending more time at our house, dinner parties, family movie nights, helping me plan Emily's graduation party. She was an integral part of our family unit. I cherished her presence, grateful for the bond that had only strengthened with time. I would have given them my last dollar, shared my last breath, because that's what family does. That's what love means. If I had known what they were planning, I could have stopped them. But by the time I found out, it was almost too late. Almost. Looking back now, the signs were there, faint whispers at first, then growing louder, like a storm brewing on the horizon I chose to ignore. Mark started working longer hours, or so he said. He'd come home late, tired, often smelling faintly of a perfume that wasn't mine. He'd blame it on a demanding client, a new project. I, ever the understanding wife, would massage his shoulders, bring him tea, convinced he was just under immense stress. Lisa, too, began making more frequent, often impromptu visits. She'd always offer to help out, whether it was folding laundry or making dinner. I found it sweet, her wanting to be more involved. But little things began to prick at my subconscious. Mark's phone, once always casually left on the kitchen counter, was suddenly glued to his side, face down, or always on silent. He became strangely defensive if I even glanced at it. Then there were the shared glances between Mark and Lisa, quick, almost imperceptible looks that seemed to hold a secret language I wasn't privy to. They'd laugh at inside jokes I didn't understand, or clear their throats awkwardly if I walked into a room. My stomach would tighten, a knot of unease, but I'd dismiss it. Grief from losing Mom, I'd tell myself. Stress, my imagination, the real seed of doubt. The first tremor of the earthquake to come happened about a month before Mom's funeral. I'd walked into the kitchen to find Mark and Lisa huddled over Mark's laptop, their heads close, whispering. When I entered, they sprang apart, Mark slamming the laptop shut with surprising force. Lisa's face was flushed, and Mark immediately started talking loudly about a new landscaping project he was considering for the backyard. I remember feeling a cold chill, a flicker of something deeply unsettling. Their reaction was too sharp, too immediate. I tried to push it away, convincing myself I was being paranoid. But the image of their hushed intimacy, their hurried separation, lodged itself in my mind like a sliver of glass. But I hadn't discovered the worst part of their betrayal yet. The aftermath of finding Mark and Lisa in my bed was a blur of raw, primal pain. I didn't scream. I didn't cry immediately. I just stood there, the smell of cheap perfume, and the sight of their entwined bodies burning themselves into my retina, searing away my innocence. Then I turned and walked out, numb, hollow, a ghost in my own home. I drove aimlessly for hours, the image replaying in my mind. A horrifying loop. My mother's funeral felt like a lifetime ago, a trivial sorrow compared to this cosmic betrayal. When I finally returned, it was only because I had nowhere else to go. Mark and Lisa were gone. The bed was stripped. They'd tried to erase their sin, but the stain was permanent. I should have just collapsed, let the grief and shock consume me. But a new emotion was starting to flicker, a cold ember in the ruins of my heart. Righteous fury. I didn't just want them to pay. I wanted them to suffer. The day after, still moving through a fog of disbelief and pain, I stumbled into Mark's home office. He kept it meticulously organized, a testament to his orderly mind. Or so I thought. My gaze fell on his desk, specifically a small leather-bound notebook he usually kept locked in his drawer. It was open. My fingers trembled as I picked it up, my heart hammering against my ribs. Inside were pages filled with Mark's precise handwriting. But it wasn't about work. It was a meticulous accounting of our joint investment portfolio, detailing withdrawals, transfers to an offshore account I'd never heard of, and even a new LLC registered under Lisa's name. The dates were recent. Several transactions had occurred while Mom was in hospice, while I was by her bedside, holding her hand. My vision blurred, not with tears, but with a sudden dizzying wave of nausea. $850 one entry read. Transferred to Phoenix Holdings LLC, Lisa M. Davies, sole director. My breath hitched. This wasn't just infidelity. This was calculated financial abuse. This was them systematically bleeding our shared future dry, preparing to leave me with nothing but ashes. I had expected a divorce, yes, but not a financial ambush. This was the worst part. I wanted to disappear, to die, but then rage, a fierce, ice-cold fury that banished all thoughts of surrender. In that moment, a switch flipped inside me. I could be the victim, curl up and let them devour what was left of my life. Or I could fight back, rise from the ashes they'd tried to bury me under. I chose the latter. I stared at the notebook, the numbers mocking me, and a single chilling thought solidified. I will not let them win. The tears wouldn't come. My eyes felt dry. Hard. I was no longer the heartbroken wife. I was a strategist, a hunter. My first step was immediate and stealthy. I photographed every page of that ledger, downloaded every banking and investment statement I could access online, changed passwords, and secured copies of our marriage certificate. property deeds, and Mark's business agreements. I was no legal expert, but I knew enough to realize that documenting everything was paramount. I found a small voice-activated recording device I'd bought years ago for dictating garden notes and carefully placed it in our living room, then another in Mark's office, hoping to catch them discussing their scheme. I started carrying my phone with its recording app activated whenever I knew I'd be near either of them. They thought I was too broken to notice, too distraught to connect the dots. They underestimated me. Big mistake. What I did next, they never saw coming. I started a detailed journal, meticulously documenting dates, times, and observations. I wrote down every instance of Mark's late nights, Lisa's sudden appearances, their hushed conversations. I noted the specific transactions from the ledger. Every suspicious glance, every awkward silence, it all went into my secret record. I even managed to retrieve some deleted emails from Mark's old laptop, uncovering a chilling correspondence between him and Lisa, discussing how they would handle Sarah during the divorce, lamenting that she's too sentimental to notice the accounts dwindling. They talked about selling our vacation condo, a place full of memories, without my consent, just to funnel the proceeds into their new LLC. It was a roadmap of their treachery, a blueprint of their greed. My hands trembled, but I kept going, scanning, printing, organizing. Legal perspective. According to family law experts, the act of divesting marital assets without spousal consent, particularly during a period of marital breakdown, can constitute financial misconduct. Courts often view such actions unfavorably, frequently leading to a disproportionate division of assets in favor of the defrauded spouse. Documenting every transaction, communication, and suspicious activity is critical. Consult with a qualified divorce attorney immediately to prevent further dissipation of assets and secure your financial future. I reached out to a trusted friend, an attorney specializing in family law, under the guise of needing advice on my mother's estate. I didn't reveal the full scope of the betrayal yet, just hinted at some financial irregularities I was concerned about. She advised me to gather every scrap of paper, every digital footprint. The more evidence you have, Sarah, she'd said, the stronger your case will be. Her words were a balm and a battle cry. I continued my clandestine operation, feeling like a spy in my own home. Mark and Lisa, meanwhile, continued their charade. They were brazen, believing their secret safe, their plan foolproof. Mark would even offer me words of comfort, telling me he'd always be there for me, even as he was plotting to strip me bare. Lisa would call, pretending to check on my emotional state, asking if I needed anything. Their hypocrisy was a bitter taste in my mouth, fueling my resolve. I greeted their fake kindness with a blank face, observing, recording, waiting for the perfect moment to unleash my carefully constructed storm. This is where it gets good. The day after my clandestine evidence gathering, I made the call that would change everything. Not to Mark, not to Lisa, but to a divorce attorney. Not my friend, the one I'd initially misled, but a formidable woman named Evelyn Reed, known for her ruthless efficiency in high-stakes divorces. Her office was sleek, cold, and utterly professional, a stark contrast to the emotional chaos raging within me. I walked in, clutching my meticulously organized folder, the photographs of the ledger, the downloaded bank statements, the emails, even a few choice snippets of audio I'd managed to record from the hidden devices. Evelyn listened patiently, her expression unreadable, as I laid out the whole sordid tale, the funeral, the betrayal, the financial embezzlement, the sickening hypocrisy. When I finished, the silence in the room was heavy. Evelyn leaned back, her gaze piercing. "Sarah," she said, her voice calm but firm, "this isn't just a divorce case. This is criminal fraud and spousal misconduct of the highest order. They have not only betrayed your trust, but they have actively tried to steal your financial future, using your grief as a shield." Her words were like a validation, a clear declaration that I wasn't crazy, that my rage was justified. We immediately began strategizing. Her first advice was crucial. Continue the charade. Let them think they're winning, she advised. Let them dig their own grave. Every false move they make, every dollar they attempt to hide, will only strengthen our case. So I did. I maintained my heartbroken demeanor. I answered Mark's texts with short, mournful replies. I even took Lisa's calls, letting her offer platitudes of support, while I gritted my teeth, imagining the look on her face when the truth dropped. My facade was impenetrable. I let Mark believe he was still in control of the finances, giving him enough rope to hang himself. He even subtly suggested selling the vacation condo, our far condo, citing financial pressures due to the impending divorce. I feigned reluctance, then reluctantly agreed, knowing that Evelyn had already initiated a temporary freeze on any significant asset sales without my explicit court-monitored consent. He thought I was too broken to care, too devastated to resist. He was dead wrong. If you think that was bad, wait until you hear the final twist. With Evelyn's guidance, we moved swiftly and silently. She sent out subpoenas for detailed financial records, not just Mark's, but Phoenix Holdings LLC and Lisa's personal accounts too. The paper trail, once so well hidden, began to unspool, revealing the true depth of their conspiracy. We discovered a series of large, unaccounted-for cash withdrawals from joint accounts funneled directly into the offshore account Mark had referenced in his ledger, which then mysteriously transferred funds to Lisa's newly formed LLC. The recordings I'd made, though sometimes grainy, provided damning context, snippets of them discussing getting Sarah out of the house and making sure she doesn't get a penny more than she deserves. They didn't know I was listening. They didn't know I was documenting. They didn't know I had an army of legal experts working behind the scenes. Pause. If you're in a similar situation feeling overwhelmed and unsure how to protect yourself, remember that your intuition is a powerful guide. Start documenting everything, no matter how small or insignificant it may seem. Keep a detailed journal, save emails, text messages, and take screenshots of any suspicious online activity. This evidence can be crucial in proving financial or emotional abuse. Don't be afraid to confide in a trusted friend or seek preliminary legal advice to understand your rights and options. You are not alone, and there are resources to help you. The court date was set. Mark was still smug, probably assuming he'd walk away with a slap on the wrist and half our assets, leaving me to pick up the pieces. Lisa, blissfully ignorant, was likely already planning how to spend my future. They had no idea what was coming. I had been careful to keep my emotional distance, offering no hints of the steel fortress I was building around myself. I let them believe they had won, that I was just another grieving, heartbroken woman who would roll over and accept her fate. Their arrogance was their downfall. My silence was my weapon. Every piece of evidence was neatly catalogued, every legal document prepared. The trap was set. All that was left was to spring it. The tension was almost unbearable, a silent hum under my skin. I slept little, fueled by a potent mix of anticipation and righteous indignation. This wasn't just about money. It was about respect, about justice, about reclaiming my dignity. Studies from the American Bar Association show that inheritance disputes with clear documentation have an 87% success rate in court, emphasizing the critical role of evidence in family law cases involving financial misconduct. Cases with comprehensive financial records, communication logs, and sworn affidavits are significantly more likely to result in favorable outcomes for the aggrieved party. Expert testimony, coupled with clear evidence of asset dissipation or fraudulent transfers, can sway judicial decisions towards a more equitable distribution of marital property, often penalizing the offending party. Then the moment I had been waiting for. The lawyer called them on Tuesday. You won't believe what happened. The lawyer called them on Tuesday. You won't believe what happened. It wasn't a court summons directly, but a formal demand letter, complete with a detailed inventory of the evidence we'd compiled, backed by a firm deadline for an initial settlement conference. The email from Evelyn to Mark and Lisa's joint lawyer was succinct, outlining charges of marital misconduct, financial fraud, and emotional distress. I wasn't there to witness their reaction, but I can only imagine the dawning horror. Evelyn later told me that Mark's lawyer immediately requested an extension, citing unforeseen complexities. Translation: Mark and Lisa were blindsided. They tried to stall, to deny, to negotiate, but Evelyn was relentless. She informed them that if they didn't comply, we would proceed with criminal charges for fraud, in addition to the civil divorce proceedings. That's when the color drained from their world. The actual day arrived a few weeks later, not in a full courtroom, but in a closed-door mediation session, which Evelyn insisted on as a preliminary step to avoid public exposure. For their sakes, not mine. The room was sterile, quiet, a stark contrast to the storm brewing within me. Mark walked in first, looking haggard, his usual smugness replaced by a pale anxiety. Then Lisa, head down, refusing to meet my eyes, her face blotchy. The look on their faces when they realized I was not the broken woman they'd left behind, but a poised, resolute figure with Evelyn Reed at my side, was priceless. They finally saw the steel in my gaze, the calm determination. Evelyn didn't waste a second. She laid out the financial discrepancies first, the detailed ledger photos, the offshore accounts, the transfers to Phoenix Holdings LLC, all meticulously documented. Mark stammered, denying, blaming a misunderstanding, a complex business deal. Lisa just sat there, silent, trembling. Then Evelyn played the recordings, the faint, sometimes muffled but utterly damning audio clips of Mark and Lisa discussing how to handle Sarah, selling the condo before she finds out, and even a snide remark about my grief being conveniently distracting. The room went silent. The air crackled with their shame. Mark's face crumpled, a mask of disbelief and betrayal. Lisa let out a small, choked sob. They thought I was too broken, too stupid, too trusting to fight back. They were wrong. Very, very wrong. The mediator, a stern, experienced woman, looked at them with thinly veiled disgust. Given the unequivocal evidence of financial malfeasance and spousal misconduct, she began, her voice cutting through the silence, Ms. Evans is entitled to a significant recompense. The settlement was swift and brutal. Mark was ordered to return the entire $850,000 he had diverted, plus interest. He also had to relinquish his full share of our vacation condo and the family home. Beyond the equitable division of assets, the judge ruled that Mark would pay me an additional $800,000 in cash, representing punitive damages, my legal fees, and compensation for the emotional distress caused. Lisa, though not directly party to the divorce, was stripped of her directorship of Phoenix Holdings LLC, which was dissolved, and all its assets, which had been funded by Mark's theft, were returned to the marital estate. Their plan to leave me with nothing had backfired spectacularly. I got everything. Legal perspective. In cases of marital fraud or egregious financial misconduct, courts often grant a disproportionate share of assets to the innocent spouse, known as an unequal distribution. This serves to punish the offending party and make the injured party whole. Punitive damages, while rare in family law, can be awarded when there is clear evidence of malicious intent and severe emotional distress. Such outcomes underscore the importance of robust evidence gathering and aggressive legal representation in protecting victims of spousal betrayal and financial abuse. Prevention Guide. 5. Steps to legally protect yourself from family betrayal. 1. Maintain separate financial records. Keep copies of all joint and individual bank statements, investment accounts, and property deeds in a secure location. 2. Regularly review credit reports. Check your credit report annually for any unauthorized accounts or activity under your name. 3. Understand legal documents. Never sign any legal document, especially a power of attorney, without fully understanding its implications and consulting with an independent attorney. 4. Document all communications. Save emails, texts, and consider legal one-party consent recordings. Check your state's laws if you suspect foul play. 5. Seek early legal counsel. If you sense financial irregularities or betrayal, consult a family law attorney immediately, even for a preliminary discussion. Early intervention can prevent significant losses. That person who trusted blindly? She's gone. I'm stronger now. The initial shock, the grief, the humiliation, they didn't break me. They forged me. The first thing I did after the settlement was to reclaim my life, piece by piece. I didn't just rebuild. I reinvented. I refurbished the family home, stripping away every trace of Mark and Lisa, transforming it into a sanctuary that truly felt like mine. I started taking painting classes, something I'd always wanted to do but never had the time for. My children, Emily and Josh, saw the transformation in me. They saw their mother rise from the ashes, stronger and more resilient than ever, and that pride in their eyes was a reward worth more than any sum of money. We took that vacation condo, now entirely mine, and turned it into our new annual escape, filling it with new, happy memories that finally eclipsed the old. What I learned through this ordeal is invaluable. Never, ever sign anything without your own independent lawyer reviewing it, no matter how much you trust the person across the table. Understand your financial landscape inside and out. Don't delegate your security to anyone else. It was a painful education, but it liberated me. My current status? I am thriving, financially secure, emotionally free, surrounded by genuine love and respect. Mark, on the other hand, is struggling to rebuild his life after losing so much, his reputation in tatters. Lisa, ostracized by our remaining family and facing significant personal debt, is a pariah. They're not thriving, not even close. My message to anyone going through something similar is this: document everything, every suspicious email, every text, every bank statement. Trust your gut. That nagging feeling? It's usually telling you the truth. You are stronger than you think, and you deserve justice. Don't let anyone make you feel small or helpless. They thought they could take advantage of me, that I was too old, too heartbroken, too sentimental to fight back. They were very wrong. And now I live a life of peace, knowing that justice, cold and irrefutable, was indeed served. This was the story of Sarah, who refused to be a victim. It was the hardest fight of my life, a battle not just against betrayal, but against the despair that threatened to consume me. Finding Mark and Lisa in my own bed after my mother's funeral. It was a wound so deep I thought I'd bleed out, but I didn't. I chose to heal, to fight, to make them pay for their cruelty. My journey from heartbroken wife to victorious survivor wasn't easy. There were moments of doubt, moments when I wanted to give up and just let them win. But then I'd remember their faces, their lies, their greed, and that cold fury would ignite inside me once more. If someone in your life is betraying you, remember this: justice exists, but you have to fight for it. It won't just appear on your doorstep. You have to arm yourself with evidence, with knowledge, and with the right legal support. Document everything, every email, every text, every suspicious transaction. Get a lawyer, a good one, someone who will fight for you as fiercely as you fight for yourself. Don't let them win. Don't let them diminish your worth or steal your future. Your peace, your financial security, your dignity, they are worth fighting for. And if you've ever gotten revenge on someone who betrayed you, if you've turned your pain into power and delivered a deserved comeuppance, I want to hear your story. Share your experience in the comments below. Let's remind each other, karma is real, and sometimes it needs a little help from those who refuse to be silent. It's time to show them that betrayal has consequences. Subscribe to Justice Served for more stories of people like me who faced unimaginable betrayal, who fought back, and who ultimately won.